Well, now, welcome back to the Gunners Clubby here with Gunner, of course, and with Seuss. And we're so glad you've joined us today because we've got the fire on and we've got a fantastic cocktail happening as well. How do you do?
Well, you got a cocktail?
I do.
I have an Irish, as it should be.
Now, listen, Seuss, I don't know if this dates me, but I remember really the time when multi-level marketing, Amway type schemes were popular in Australia. Does that take you back or what?
Wow. That does take me back.
Oh, now I don't know if we've touched a sore point there, dear watchers.
No, you didn't touch a sore point. I was right into Amway back in the day.
Yeah, it was back in the day. So effectively, after America, the American way was promulgated first to our shores in Australia. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, we were the first bite of the cherry after America too. We were invited basically to join the American way.
Okay.
And boy, how we joined.
Yes, we did.
So tell me a little bit about your experience with it. Now, first off, I'll start by saying that everything we talk about is for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
That's why you're here with us, to have a bit of a laugh and to join in the fun that we do. How did you first get into Amway?
It was promised in such a way that it was a financial gateway to financial freedom.
So who was it that introduced you to it? Was it a friend, a worker, or family?
No, it was a colleague saying, just come along to this thing. You know, you might be surprised, and that it might be something that you might be interested in.
And as it turns out, were you surprised?
I was surprised.
Yes.
I was also intrigued. I got into it. Let's put it that way. There was more promise than fulfillment.
Okay.
However, the premise of the strategy that they were promoting was exceptionally good.
Okay, so I, like many Australians, if Powerball jumps to 100 million or $150 million,
you buy
I
a
get
ticket.
itchy hands and I buy a ticket. I can't resist. And if I've got some money sitting there in the pool that, well, I might as well reinvest it because it's not real money.
Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, I'll let that ride as well and do that. So everyone's looking for some sort of escape
Of course.
or hope for happiness as
Yep,
well.
that's right.
Now, I remember working with a colleague who was very keen on getting me into Amway. I've had a few people invite me to become members of that scheme.
Yep.
And one of them I didn't really understand because he didn't seem to be excited at all
Yeah.
when I wanted to buy the products,
Ah.
which is what I thought
Yeah.
that he was trying to sell. So there I was, I thought naively, well, look, let's have a look what the catalogue is. And there were some tea bags from Australia, which I thought was quite novel. And there were some other products, and I ordered them, and 3/4 of them were fulfilled and the others for some reason weren't available. But it wasn't about that, apparently. What actually is it about if it's not about the products? Or in his mind, it wasn't about the products.
Right. Well,
Because he was awfully disappointed when I just wanted to buy the products from him.
yep. Well, there are multiple branches in Amway, as there are in a lot of these multi-level marketing brands.
Yeah.
There are so many out there now. Amway was the primary one at the time.
I think their marketing was top notch.
Oh, my word, it was.
Yeah.
And what they were promising was excellent. It really was. The strategy and the money-making.
So what was the strategy? Was it market this plan through your friends and everybody that you know?
Oh, of course it was.
What
Yes.
actually was it?
Look, the whole thing premised on that you invite 7 people who then each individually invites 7 people.
Sure.
And so it builds, for all intents and purposes, into this pyramid. If you buy the products in the catalogue, which were for all home products, they range from cleaning products to
Soaps,
personal
detergents.
products. Yeah, correct. All the stuff that you use on a daily basis. So from a business point of view, you're buying it anyway. Why buy it at Woolies or Coles when you could buy it from yourself? It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So you've used the word pyramid. We're not suggesting it's a pyramid scheme, but certainly if you look, you've got someone at the top as a capstone, and the way that it works out is larger numbers increasingly on the base.
Yeah.
It does form that sort of a shape.
Yeah, that's right.
So I understand with multi-level marketing, what they're really talking about is selling the product rather than the scheme. Do you think sometimes, and we're not talking now about Amway specifically, but do you think that sometimes the danger is that they're talking about the scheme rather than just talking about the product?
There are certain offshoots that went their own way, who primarily promoted the scheme rather than selling the product. And that's where it falls down.
So, look, I have read in Wikipedia, you can do the fact-checking for yourself, that really they expect less than 1%, and seriously less than 1% of people in associated plans to make a profit from being involved in something like that. Do you have any idea of, through your experience, that it would be something like that? Do you know of anyone who ever made money out of this?
I did.
You yourself did?
I most certainly did. In fact, but then you see, I always had it in mind that if I'm going to, whatever it is that I join or start or go into, I'm going to go all in or I don't bother at all. I registered a business. I did the whole thing. And I went to my accountant. And the first thing he said, well, look, I've seen 1,000 like this. You're never going to make any money. I said, okay, fair enough. And I was obviously determined to prove him wrong because I'm just pig-headed that way. And admittedly, I didn't get rich. But come the end of the financial year, and I was diligent in keeping my books and doing all the right things, his jaw dropped when he saw the bottom line. He says, "You're the first one I have ever seen in this scheme that's actually made money."
Now, I understand, again, through reading on the internet, there was some pushing and pulling between the Australian Taxation Office and Amway Australia regarding conference, drink and food bills. So I can imagine some of those parties really would have been quite elaborate.
Look.
Oh, those heady days.
Look. Well, when they had one of these conferences, they would completely fill the tennis stadium.
No, I think from memory, Dallas Brooks Hall, the old Freemasons Hall in Melbourne, used to be one of the places.
Yeah, but no, that's small time.
That's small beer.
Yeah, no, we're talking the tennis centre that held 30,000 people, and that was full, and there were people standing outside. Look, it was almost a cult experience. I've got to tell you, honestly, in hindsight, it was almost a cult experience.
That's an interesting term because, now look, when I was living as a young man in Germany, I was taught that the definition of a cult was defined by how hard it is to leave an organisation. Now, I can't suggest that any of these brand names were involved in anything like that at all, and that's not my suggestion. But I can imagine that once you build up a group and peer pressure applies and business pressure applies, it does get more difficult to leave a group, no matter what that group is. Be it a church, be it a social group, be it a work group, be it a family.
It depends on how financially involved you are, how emotionally involved you are. For me, in the end, it was a business decision to leave.
Really?
Yes.
Your time is better spent elsewhere?
I found it more financially lucrative for my time elsewhere.
Now, let me touch upon another subject that might be very interesting. Marketing material and cassettes promoting Amway and the business structure.
Yep.
Now, I understand that is an industry in itself.
Yes, it is.
And I understand there is, let's not say hundreds, let's actually be realistic and say thousands of cassettes that were promoting the way and the methods of selling and the ways of contacting other people and keeping the fire alive, keeping the dream alive.
Yes.
Now, were you encouraged at any stage to ever purchase or to ever listen to
one
of those cassettes?
Yeah.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, just how high, 10 being you were actively, strongly encouraged?
Oh, you were actively, strongly encouraged to the level of probably 8. However, as I mentioned to you probably in one of our previous videos in my army days, I had this passionate dislike for authority. So I pushed back quite a bit on that. Nevertheless, I managed to rise quite adequately within this Amway scheme, even without that. In the end, It was like trying to push water uphill.
Because of what reason?
It was the never-ending necessity for getting new recruits, for all intents and
Now,
purposes.
hang on a sec. Isn't the idea that the people under you are supposed to do that? Your work's already done.
Correct. Provided that they actually do what you do. The vast majority of them would get their starter
kit,
packs and stick it under their bed and hope that the guy that they recruited would actually do the work and make them rich without them ever having to do anything.
Now let's go back to the cassettes and the marketing, because I'm really intrigued by this. If you had bought or somehow acquired 6 of those cassettes, if you acquired a 7th, would there be anything new at all that you hadn't heard of before in those previous 6? Why would you need 7 to 20 cassettes, for example? Why would 6 not suffice, or 5?
For the actual information that you're getting, there probably wasn't anything new.
Right.
However, as you probably well know, you connect with one person better than you do with another, and how they present the story. And it's usually always their personal story that they're telling you.
So it's a bit of a testimony, like someone standing up in church.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got to this by doing this. If you just follow these steps, you will get to where I am. And you'll say, oh, what a load of hogwash. Whereas the next guy will say that exactly the same thing in a little bit of a different way, or his background is slightly different, but he's still telling you the same story, but you will connect with him.
I
and
remember.
Say, now I get it.
I remember one cassette, there was an American, and he was chastised and ridiculed by his peer group. And people would say, how's that thing going for you, that scheme? And he said, it's going okay. And then he'd pull up with a new car and he'd say, see this car? It's the cheapest car I'm ever going to own. And then a year later he'd turn up with a new car and say, you see this car? That's the cheapest car I'm ever going to own. And it went on and on and on, this perpetuity. But I don't know if it means that after 6 cassettes you'd want to buy 20, and after 20 you'd want to buy 50, and after 50, 100. But is it right that if people under you bought those cassettes, that actually would aid you as well in your targets?
Only if you happen to be within that group that manufactured those cassettes and was selling them as a side hustle, shall we say.
Now, around that time, as I said, Amway was Australia was the first chapter outside of America. A lot of other groups came in for multi-level marketing.
Yes, they
things
did.
like Relive, which I think was a protein drink.
That's right. Yes.
With some lofty ideal about ending malnourishment in the third world, or
Correct.
something like that.
Yep.
But it was just a deluge, wasn't it? It was really one multi-level marketing system after another, really.
It was. And the other thing with Relive was that it was basic. For all intents and purposes, it was a one product multi-level marketing scheme. And that was never going to work.
That does make it a lot more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And again, we're talking purely on entertainment, not on investment grounds here. But it's just interesting to see what the trends were here.
And this was 80s we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you get really drawn into it, and you get, it is almost like a religion.
Yeah. In a way, they've got that new gospel they want to share.
Yeah. But then the 80s, that was the thing with the shoulder pads and the anyone can become a millionaire.
Yes, so why not you?
Yeah, that's right. And it worked to some extent. Now look, Amway was not a bad product. The Amway scheme was not a bad product. I actually thrived off that.
Well, in fact, in their defence, if goods were found in Australia to not be satisfactory, they actively sourced the goods through America and through Europe if they thought it wasn't of the quality that they wanted to sell.
It was good. Australia. It was good. It was for totally different reasons outside of Amway that I decided to call it quits. However, in a future business that I went into, I employed that same basic concept of Amway to actually thrive in a totally separate business.
I mean, who would have thought you could sell origami to that many people?
Was origami, was
it? Folks, it's great to have a talk and a chat and a laugh and a drink with you. And if you like the sort of stuff we discussed, join Susology for more adventures.
It's definitely been an adventure.
We'll see you soon.
Good on you guys.